What's up, everyone? Welcome. We are live right now on CannaBuzz, and if you're joining us on YouTube or Spotify or the podcast feed, thank you so much for joining us. We have a great episode for you today. We have Kyle from Emerald Bay Extracts. We're going to be talking about RSO. He's a company out here in California, so we're super excited to talk to someone that's in the industry, that's doing it, that's working with customers, and really kind of getting out there. It's really interesting to connect with folks like Kyle and learn about what's going on and also what it takes to put a product out into market and have it be successful. But before we get too far into it, I do need to make a couple shout outs to everyone in the CannaBuzz community. Every time we do these interviews, we stream them live into our community and folks can watch us live. We also give away seeds to our members, so you can become a member for as little as $4.20 a month, and then you sign up on our website and in a form there that's pinned to the top of the app. Sign up there and you'll end up with a pack of seeds in the mail at some point. So we'd love to see you over there, and we thank everyone for being a part of that community and for supporting us for the last 8 years that we've been doing this thing. It's crazy. All right, and then last couple shout outs just to our friend Lost Coast Plant Therapy, just because we love them. Dirk, thank you so much for your support over the last several years, and thank you to our friend over at Tanazi Gardens. But Tanazi Gardens, check him out. We appreciate his support. Google Tanazi Gardens and you'll find everything you need to grow some fungi at home, edible or otherwise. And then we're going to throw it over to JR for his shout outs.
Thanks, Q. We got some Tiki announcements. He has his Kong Crush Float, folks. And the reason I kind of picked this one out is because I used to love the old school skunk bud, the old roadkill. And he's got a Skunk House collab. And they did the Banana GMO by Root Beer. And the Root Beer, I think is something that people have been sleeping on, in my opinion. I think that was something that Mean Gene Green put together. And it's fantastic. So that Banana GMO by Root Beer is a reg pack. So you have the opportunity to get some males in there and do some breeding this summer, if that's something you're interested in. So check out Tiki at Tiki, you know the rest. And then also I want to shout out Brad from Raw Genetics. He's got his Pineapple Sunrise by Sugar Tits, which I don't know why I know that's not his part of the breeding project. No offense to whoever chose that name, but I think it's odd. Anyways, Pineapple Sunrise by Sugar Tits, folks. And you could find that at Raw Genetics, figure out the rest.
All right. The strain names do get ridiculous. I think they've become less ridiculous in the last few years, it seems like, because people understand that they have to be up on the dispensary name or menu, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Oh, who's in line for Sugar Tits? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I had that happen to me because there was a strain that had that in the name of it 5 years ago, and I walked up to the counter and asked for it, and it was just such a funny thing to say out loud. Anyways, especially when you're trying to shout it over the music of the dispensary or whatever. But yeah, let's get into the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. We appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon on this Monday. But we've got Kyle from Emerald Bay Extracts. He's here to talk about RSO and RSO production. They're a rapidly evolving and expanding California brand, putting out a variety of products. So we're super excited to connect with him today. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to be here.
I'm glad you survived our intro.
Yeah, exactly. We're for those that are listening or watching the show, not the live version, we're still getting used to what YouTube is okay with us saying. So that's why we kind of fumbled through the beginning. But anyways, Kyle, the way we usually kick off these shows, especially if you're the first time on the show, we like to just kind of understand how you kind of got involved in this space, got involved with the plant, and kind of what led you to where you are today with this company.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. I really am looking forward to our talk and getting to know each other and talking about Emerald Bay Extracts. I first fell in love with the plant at an early age. I got introduced medicinally in 2006. That was the first time I really saw patients consuming the plant medicinally. They were having a level of relief that I'd never seen before. I mean, everything from cancer patients, MS patients, to the everyday person looking to relieve a little bit of stress. It was fascinating to me. I worked for some farms over the years. I was always a home grower. And then fast forward to 2019, I answered a job ad and met with Thomas, who's the co-founder of Emerald Bay Extracts, and their vision aligned well with mine. It was to create a clean, potent, and strain-specific RSO for the adult use and medicinal market. I knew immediately that this is going to be something that I could grab a hold of, give me purpose and a career, and be able to push product to market. Didn't think in my wildest dreams we would get as far as we've come in our short little time, but it has been an amazing journey so far.
That's incredible. I can imagine when you were working on the farm that you had no idea that you'd be where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, and it was always a discussion that we had of, is it ever going to become legal? Is it ever going to become
Right.
something that you can just walk into the store without a medical rec and just buy off the shelf? And I'm an optimistic person. I always said yes. I'm waiting for the time that it did, but I was very surprised when our proposition passed through the Senate and was able to be approved for adult use. I just think it was an incredible leap forward. But yeah, it was always just kind of something that was off in the distance that we never really thought was going to be tangible. And here we are. The strides we've made as a community have been huge.
I imagine selling something that you believe in is much easier. I could imagine, in this market. And I think whenever things flip from medical to rec, that segment of the market was the one, those folks are some of the people who got hurt the worst in that. And so for you to fill that void and offer that service to these folks, I think is very, very powerful and very important. It probably helps it easier for you to get up and grind 12, 13 hours a day, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a passion. Everybody that works at Emerald Bay is huge fans of what the plant can do. Everybody's passionate about what the plant has and how we can move forward with it and how we can provide relief from patients to everyday adult use consumers. It's really an amazing thing how bonded we are by this plant. Everybody at Emerald Bay just loves it.
Yeah, I guess I want to echo what JR was saying because my wife, she's someone who benefits from these medical products, but she can't stand any of the I can't even say the I can't even say the intoxicating version of the plant. My wife doesn't like that. She can't handle any of it at all. So she needs just CBD basically. And so it's really frustrating when we went over to Rec in the market and you just see kind of all those CBD products or just otherwise kind of medical products, I would say, kind of just go away. And so I appreciate someone trying to provide products to the market. So in that, continuing that line of thought, could you kind of help us understand what sort of products do you guys provide or services do you guys provide to your customers?
Yeah, we provide a strain specific RSO that both retailers and consumers rely on. I believe Emerald Bay Extracts is really at the forefront of the industry in the medical space. Uh, we have a patient first approach. We listen to what the patients are looking for. We really try to provide something for everybody, even in the CBD, CBG categories. And that doesn't just stop there in providing it. It also translates to being there for the patients, answering any questions that they might have. We open people to reach out to us to ask questions, and we're happy to share our knowledge with them, try to connect them with retailers. Um, a couple of we specialize in RSO. We're not going to go out of our lanes. So our focus right now is strain specific RSO. We make 25, 50, and 100 milligram tablets. We make a classic 1 gram syringe. We also make an olive oil based tincture. We're just trying to provide something for everybody's way of consumption.
That's really cool. Can you mention some of the strains? I'd be curious what strains you focused in on, and then why those in particular.
Yeah, we cycle through a bunch of strains throughout the year, but some of our main staples on our menu are ice cream cake, blue dream, lemon cherry gelato. We try to provide a 20 to 1 or higher CBD ratio, as well as a 1 to 1 CBD ratio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So we really try to hit something for everybody. We also have a high CBG product that flies off the shelves. We can't keep it stocked long enough.
That's really good. Now you mentioned that you have it in a pill, and that's not a usual way people are used to consuming RSO. Where a lot of us old time medical people got this syringe with some tar in it. So and I can only imagine that the evolution of that has come a long way. So can you kind of talk about the offerings, and then with the specific strains, they have their chemistry key and kind of relate that to each of those strains that you kind of offer as a strain specific.
Yeah, so obviously RSO is hard to dose. It comes out in that sticky tar-like oil. It can be hard to gauge how much you get out. Sometimes you squeeze a syringe and you might get a drop of it, or you might get your half grain of rice that you're shooting for. So we decided to make something that was more dose specific, that people could rely on, that they could have it discreetly in front of their family or on the go in everyday use. So we moved to formulate the tablet, and the tablet is made with our RSO oil and a basic multivitamin filler. And with that, these strains that are staples on the menu, we always have them pretty much in line. The ice cream cake is a fan favorite of promoting sleep, pain relief. Blue Dream can help alleviate anxiety, can even help lift moods. It's something, the different cultivars provide a different profile from strain to strain, right? So what works for somebody might not work for another, or not, I wouldn't say doesn't work, but not as well, and somebody that's looking for a sativa might not want a blue dream. So super silver haze might do the trick for them. They're looking for more energizing effect for it. So that's kind of our thought behind the strain specific, is to offer the entire profile of the plant that we can harness into the oil and produce it out for consumers to grab, right? Like, the thought process is, you're not going to walk into any dispensary looking for any indica that they have, right? You're going to look for specific cultivars that they have, because you rely on these effects and how they help you out. And that's our firm belief, is why we're strain specific.
That's something that we've talked about a lot over the years, really. And the analogy we use is this: individual cultivar has a chemistry key, and you have a chemistry lock. Everyone's chemistry is different. How that key fits the lock and what it does for you is one of the motivating factors to why I love what I love and you love what you love in cannabis. And the beautiful thing is the potential for terpenes, sulfur compounds, cannabinoids, and everything involved are immense. So the opportunities for cocktailing varieties that specifically fit you is totally doable. We're just kind of finding it with our bioassay. We'll go in, we'll try a few flavors. The one that, it's like a buddy of mine got a few different samples to try. And the thing I expected him to like the most was not the one he liked the most. And the one I thought that I did the worst, or they did the worst job on, was actually one of the ones he liked the most. And so it's just very specific to the way that chemistry interacts with you. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and I think everybody's unique, right? We are cut from the same cloth, but we are a different material, right? So, like you had said, I'm often surprised by my strain selection. Is I'll go into a dispensary and I'll try to find something. Maybe I need some flour, and I'll take suggestions, and sometimes I take that suggestion, and it blows my mind, because I didn't think, oh, okay, maybe this will do the trick here. But then I end up loving it, and I go on a tangent and buy as much as I can, and then maybe flip to a different cultivar when I need to. And I think that's really important for people to understand, is that just because one strain doesn't work for you doesn't mean that an indica isn't going to work for you in general, you
Right.
know? And
Very true. Because
yeah,
everything's so hybridized, anyways.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, exactly. I mean, a blue dream's going to act completely different from a super silver haze, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. You're gonna feel like you're up in the clouds dreaming with a blue dream, and then you're gonna find a super silver haze, and you're off to the races, getting motivated and have that energy to get you through the day. So, I mean, that just goes to show the lock and key mechanism that you had talked about. And I think that's important when people start researching the endocannabinoid system. Is it's a lock and key mechanism, and everything in a full spectrum product works synergistically together to create the entourage effect. And I think that's really important for the everyday consumer to educate themselves on.
Right.
Yeah, we even have studies out now showing that certain terpenes are locking onto receptors as well and modulating things. And so, all, like you said, all of it matters. All of it really does matter.
Yeah,
So
it really does matter.
yeah, so on the note of kind of getting everything from the plant into your product, so to speak, making sure that it has the terpenes and all these great things that are in the plant. Can you talk about the extraction process that you have? JR had a note that it's called cryogenic terpene preservation. I'm not familiar with that, so I'd love to just learn more about it.
Yeah, so we use a cryogenic extraction process. Basically, we take food grade ethanol at 200 proof and we get it down as cold as we need to be able to extract it. And we have our proprietary equipment that we've built in house and made sure that this is possible. So we get it down to a certain temperature, run it through a couple of filters to get out, the waxes and the fats that aren't needed, the chlorophyll and whatnot. But this is something that we really believe in, right? And when we extract these properties out of the plant, we are trying to get the entire profile of the plant into the oil as much as we can. And with that process, it goes into this cold ethanol and creates an alcohol tincture. And we use decarboxylation, evaporation process to get the alcohol out and leave that tar-like substance in that. And we have been able to preserve as much of the terpenes as possible, but we also understand, terpenes are volatile at certain temperatures, right? We're not going to preserve everything, but the major ones, beta carophylline, linalool, myrcene. I mean, I think all of those can end up in our terpene profiles in our COAs, and that is really what we feel can work inside the body with the entourage effect and give you that more well-balanced effect that you're looking for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you're, one of the things that, as we've seen in the market go into recreational, you've seen kind of the push to distillates and all sorts of things, and people kind of adding terpenes after the fact or adding in food terpenes or whatever it is. So can you speak to the difference between the other products that might not have any terpenes in it at all, or whatever their situation is, versus the process that you went through? Is there an experiential difference? Is there a difference on the testing? What have you seen as you guys have built this company?
Yeah, I think there are some differences with it, and I think there is a place in the industry for every product, and I don't want to knock any company or anything that anybody does. This is just our method and what we choose to provide for people based on patient feedback, research, all of these things all tie in together and what we're trying to accomplish here. Distillate is great for certain aspects, making drinks, you can nano emulsify it. We truly believe that the entire profile of the plant is what is meant to be consumed. Those profiles that you see, the flavonoids, the terpenes, the cannabinoids, those all play a part with each other in your endocannabinoid and in the experience of the effect that you're looking for. So it gives me, at least, it gives me a more well-rounded effect when I'm consuming, whether it's our CBG product, which is great for anxiety, gut inflammation, but all of these effects are produced by the terpenes, the flavonoids, everything that the profile of the plant has made available to us. It's something that we really believe that people should be consuming.
So when you guys are working with your terpene analysis, are you guys kind of locking into some of the therapeutic attributes in the varieties that you're presenting in these, products?
Yeah, we're trying to. Mainly, we're just trying to harness the entire profile of the plant. We're not trying to add terpenes. We're not trying to add isolates. We really try to stay with the profile of the plant. And what patients have reached out to us about is certain strains help them through certain ailments better than others. And that's why we try to keep these staples on our menu. So it's really subjective up to the patient of which strains make them feel best. So that's why we try not to adulterate as much as possible. Again, like these volatile terpenes, they're going to lose it. There's terpenes that are lost at room temperature. That's why dabbers try to refrigerate their oils as much as they can. So we try to harness it. We understand we're going to lose some of those terpenes, but it's a profile of the plant and for patients to find what's best for them.
So let's dive into we'll dive in a little bit into the cultivar specific RSO. We'll just talk about that again a little bit. Um so kind of double clicking on cultivar specific, could you kind of talk about where you source that kind of material from? Are you going to farmers and asking them to grow these specific strains, and have you found that you need to have a certain level of quality of flour or whatever it is to hit what you need? I'm kind of curious to just hear about that, because like when you create a brand like this, you got to figure out, well, where do I get my material from? So it'd be interesting to kind of learn more about what you guys have experienced and learned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really important that we work with the growers. Our co founder, Thomas, handles all of our procurement. He has these deep connections with craft farms. I think that is one of the key instrumentals of keeping our oils as potent and consistent as possible. And sometimes between harvests, we may have some gaps, but we always figure out how to bridge them by these connections. So the craft farms are really what drive us. They are the ones that, hey, maybe they're going to grow an ice cream cake for us for the season, and we're going to pick up all of their biomass that they have available. And as far as quality of trim, yes, we want the sugar leaf. We want something that's produced close to the plant. Water leaf can do it, but it doesn't exactly give us the yield and the potencies that we're looking for. So we're really trying to source as much sugar leaf as we can. Flour, it still does a trick. We get great yields off of it. Sometimes the dollars don't make sense in producing a bunch of flour just to make RSO, but we're not immune to that, right? I mean, I know we've produced unbucked flour and done it ourselves. So picking up quality biomass is really important to us. We triple test all of our products. We test it when we get it from the farmers. We test it when we make it into the oil, and we test it at the final stage before it's released to market. And I think that is a tremendous feat for us to provide consistency in knowing what we're putting out is the highest quality oil that we can make.
And so, how do you approach Farmer Joe and ask him to grow Blue Dream forever?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of the growers understand, especially over the years, what we're doing is medically driven, right? We're trying to produce something that got us to legalization in the first place, and to help the patients that have, I don't want to say were forgotten about, but kind of pushed back a little bit for adult use, right? And these farmers, I mean, they're happy to produce something for us. They're happy to be able to help us out with what we need. And it's a tall ask, but there are a lot of them that are up for the challenge and to produce something.
Yeah. No, I like the cultivar specific idea, especially the ones that you mentioned, which are with like lemon cherry gelato, or LCG, I think is what a lot of people call it. Um I know that's really popular. It's been popular for what, like the last year or so. I know Blue Dream is obviously it's been around for a long time, and some people got kind of tired of it or whatever it is, but it's still around. And I've seen brands coming back to it recently, and like I saw another brand that we're friends with, he's relaunching in California, and that was one of the strains that he's relaunching with, just because it's a strain that everyone knows, and it's got some fans. For me, Blue Dream was one of those strains that kind of unlocked something for me, where when California went rec, I was working at a company where I would go out and do events a lot. I'd go to Vegas or I'd go to wherever. And I would have like social anxiety in those sorts of situations. And up to that point in my life, I was used to a lot of those events are very much revolve around alcohol. And I hated the effects of the alcohol, especially the next day if you get hungover and then you have even more anxiety because the hangover and everything like that. But then I found Blue Dream, or like a little Blue Dream vape or whatever I could get, and saw that I could still be kind of more outgoing, I guess, in those social settings, and still have fun and be and kind of have that like social lubricant effect, so to speak, but without all the downsides. And so, I'd just be curious, if or I don't know if that's a good way to put it. I was just gonna say, what could you kind of expand on where people are kind of are customers talking to you about, oh yeah, I use the LCG for this, or I use the Blue Dream for this, or I'd be curious what kind of how this is going from what a lot of people think is just this like party thing that they take for fun or recreational to its actual medicine. And for a lot of people, they might use it recreationally, but they're actually using it for medicine, for medicinal purposes, right? It's helping them in some way, shape, or form. So be curious what kind of stories you're hearing about how people are using some of these products in their lives and how it's helping them.
Yeah, patient feedback, we get it all day, every day. We open up our info email and it's flooded with, I loved this strain. I loved what it did for me. One specifically was a CBD strain that is extremely hard to source, but we're getting feedback from patients. When is this going to come out? Can you get more? This is helping me with uh, pain associated with cancer or the treatments of cancer. This is helping me eat. This is helping me sleep. And this is something that we take into serious consideration. Patient feedback is really what's gotten us as far as we can. Is like, I feel when we get this patient feedback, we take it seriously and we go looking for a lot of these strains and cultivars that they're reaching out for us for. And we want to be able to help people. That is our utmost uh, goal with our company, is to help these patients have dignity, a better quality of life. I think some of these indica strains really help people sleep. I think sleep is something that people struggle with on a day-to-day basis. I know myself, I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and just sit there and go, I'm up. I am just up. I would love to fall asleep, but I am just up. Maybe I'll wander out to my living room. Maybe I'll take a little puff, but it's something that people are relying on for a medicinal need. Now, Dennis Perone, famous activist, famously once said, everybody's a medical patient, whether they think it or not, right? And I truly believe that. And that's when I started getting into the medical space. It wasn't just cancer patients, AIDS patients, MS patients. It was people looking for a better quality of life. Maybe they're stressed out. Their job makes them stressed out and they go home and it's hard for them to unwind. And this certain strain that they've found helps them just relax and find a better quality of life. And that's really what the goal is all about, is feeling better in life. This life's already stressful. It's already, we just want people to feel better, and
Yeah.
patient reaches out, that's what we listen to.
Well, I think you kind of put it best that when you refer to the social lubricant aspect, Q, because it's kind of like a life lubricant, just helps you kind of get through life a little bit smoother, and I think more people are tapping into that. I was listening to some of the statistics, and I hate quoting numbers, so I'm terrible at it, but they were judging the amount of alcohol consumption amongst generations, and the baby boomers, of course, are on top. like somewhere in the $25 billion worth of alcohol consumption last year. And you would think Gen X would be right behind them, but we weren't. We weren't behind them. It was actually the millennials that were in second place. Of course, we took third, but although three of those groups were in the $20 billion per year category, they jumped down to Gen Z and it's $8 billion a year. You know, that's a traumatic difference in the amount of consumption. And alcohol was the go-to lubricant before. And, you know, it would socially help for the first couple of drinks, but by the time you got to 6 or 7, your social lubricancy sometimes was a nightmare.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't remember, you know, yeah, there's so many embarrassing things that happen with alcohol, especially when you get into that number of drinks. And especially, you know, that was what was frustrating to me as a young professional. Um, is so much of work revolves around alcohol. Pretty much no matter what type of work you do, it seems like pretty much any industry, alcohol is involved, especially at like parties or whatever it is. And so it's just, yeah, it's a difficult dance.
It
But
is because we've had sales reps on, you know, who do these shows, these trade shows. They get up in the morning, they do the morning breakfast with the crew. They go do the show all day, and then that's when business starts at the end of the day.
at the
They
party,
go
yeah.
all night until 2 in the morning, and that's where all the relationships and all the business deals actually happen. And so they got to get up the next morning and do it again. And now they got these like spanabuses and stuff that are like 4-day events and stuff. And it's just that whole lifestyle is very grueling. And I don't think people appreciate it as much as, you know, they should for sure. Shifting kind of to the business side of things, the plant itself has kind of changed in the consciousness of America recently a little bit. And so, with that shift, how do you see your product actually becoming more of a viable product I would go to a pharmacy and grab from a prescription from my doctor for?
Yeah, I mean that is the dream, right? I think we really want insurances to be able to cover the plant in the future. I think what the future holds is often blurred. I think we keep getting these carrots dangled in front of our face of, okay, we're gonna reschedule it. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And I think the future is tough to predict. But Emerald Bay Extracts wants to be in that medically focused area. You know, we want insurance companies to be able to take our products seriously. We want doctors and researchers to recommend our products, you know, either to patients or for clinical trials. We really do feel like this is something that can be a solution for the medical, I don't want to say pharmaceutical industry because it's so muddied up, but I really want it to be something that is taken seriously by doctors. And I think the stigma is shifting right now. I think doctors more than ever are being more than okay with people being open about their cannabis use. And, you know, even my doctor knows about my cannabis use and she's on board with it. She makes sure to give me the warnings, you know, like,
Right.
hey, watch over consumption. But I think the stigma is starting to shift. And I think as this industry matures throughout all of the states that have created adult use and even the medical markets, I think it's starting to shift. And, you know, if this administration gets their act together and reschedules it, it opens up an entire industry for us that we want to be a part of because we see it helping these patients every single day. I mean, cancer patients reaching out to us, epilepsy patients reaching out to us. How can I get your products in these other states? And right now we are in California. We have
Right.
aspirations to maybe be in other states, but right now we're just honing in on California. But if things change and we're able to, you know, potentially ship to other states or direct to consumer, this could help millions of people, you know, if they're open to doing it. And like you said, studies are showing people are not drinking as much as they are. People are looking to cannabis for their social interactions to help the stress out of the day. They understand it's not going to give them a gnarly hangover. It's not going to give them the anxieties after a late night of drinking. so it just opens up a whole field for us. And if we get into that space, it's going to be pivotal for us. And we're hopeful. We're optimistic. We're forever optimists here.
Yeah, no, we live in interesting times, that's for sure, in a lot of different ways. And one of them, that JR and I've been talking about recently over the last, I'd say, year in particular, but especially over the last several months, is we're just noticing how times are really tough in the industry for a lot of different companies. Um, we're seeing some glimmers of hope in the industry where we're seeing, some of our favorite farmers are kind of forced to get creative, and they're dabbling in making their flower products and whatnot, but also making seeds, and they're trying to build brands around their own strains. There's a lot of like really interesting movement over there. I'd love to hear about what kind of challenges and where kind of you guys have risen to those challenges, or kind of been able to forge a path for yourself over the last several years, and how you've gotten to where it is today, because to be a company that's alive in 2026 is no small
For
feat,
real.
especially in California.
And expanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it is a concerted effort by everybody on our team, from the drivers to fulfillment, sales, manufacturing, uh, product placement. I mean, marketing. This is all something that has been a concerted effort for us. And I think one thing that really sets us apart is we are boots on the ground. We put education of bud tenders first. We put education to patients first. I mean, we are at the forefront. I'm going out to a location here later this weekend and going to a senior fair to educate seniors about our products and how it could benefit them. And I think this grassroots effort is really what sets us apart when companies just kind of, and not every company does this, because there are a lot of companies that really boast their education of their products. But when we go out and we empower the bud tenders to have the knowledge that we have and translate it over to the customer, they're the ones on the front lines. If they can accurately get that information across, it creates trust within the bud tenders, it creates trust within our brand, and it lends us a level of credibility to our products that maybe other companies might not get. Now, I really do think that the grassroots effort is really what sets us apart. I mean, I'm going out, I'm meeting with doctors, researchers, buyers, bud tenders. I'm going out on the road every single day to get information out and try to push our products and make sure people understand why our RSO can help so many people. And it's that effort from everybody within the company that has allowed us to grow as much as we have, continued to grow. It's a team effort. I know it sounds cliche, but everybody in the drivers are knowledgeable about our products.
Hey,
So
what about the person who's in the cold room processing? Are they happy?
yeah, they're happy. They love it. And I mean, it gets cold in there, but yeah, no, I mean, our extractors are happy. They love what they do. It's always a work in progress for them to dial in what's proprietary to us and what makes our oil better. And we're always looking to improve, and we're never happy with settling, because
Yeah.
we feel like if you settle, you're just not going to grow. I mean, and growth is, whether it's financially or knowledge based, having that growth is important in just being a human in general. So yes, the extractors are very happy. They love what they do, and it is so much fun to go into the extraction room and just talk it up with them.
Yeah, man, imagine.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, sorry, Q.
No, go ahead.
One of the things I wanted to mention is the CannaMed event, CanMed 26 coming up June 15th and 18th. That's kind of in your neighborhood, and that's one of the more science-based, prestigious type events that still exist. So can you kind of talk about that and maybe what your involvement with that event might be, if you're having any at all?
Yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to be showing face. We're going to have a table available for researchers, doctors, geneticists, everybody to come check out our products. Some of the research that we've been doing with a company. I can't speak too much on the research because it's still being written out, but come CanMed, it's going to be available to the public. I really think that this is a space where we thrive in. thriving with doctors and clinicians, nurses, researchers. I mean, that is where we want to align ourselves in this space. And being right in our backyard in Lake Tahoe is really what we're up for. I mean, Emerald Bay, that's where we got our name, was from Lake Tahoe. And we're really excited to be there again and to show face and network, connect, and hopefully grow our research to the next level.
I'd love to be there. I would really love to go to that
Yeah.
event.
What are the dates again?
June 15th and 16th, I
Oh, that's
believe.
cool. Nice.
And last year it was in Costa Rica. So it's a little closer.
Puerto Rico, but yeah.
Oh, Puerto Rico. That's right. I thought it was Costa Rica. Sorry.
Last year was so much fun. I met so many amazing individuals that have such a love for the plant that is just, it's tangible. You can feel it in every conversation that you have. And you learn so much just by hanging out and having that undivided time where you're not like jumping from call to call. You're just hanging out and discussing the plant, going to these seminars and learning about different research. It's a fascinating place for somebody that really wants to be in the medical space.
Well, speaking to the kind of challenges of growing your brand and your products and just kind of getting the word out, being in this space, as we kind of mentioned earlier in the show, you can't say certain words on various platforms, and you can't advertise in traditional ways, and it's unfortunately you're not you don't have all the tools available to you that a typical any other product would. But we also, it's an interesting space where you were mentioning earlier about you kind of try to capitalize on this opportunity with the bud tenders, because you have oftentimes customers going into a dispensary and they might be at least more open to influence from the bud tender. They're not necessarily always coming into the shop and looking for a specific thing. There might be looking for recommendations. So I'd be curious if we could kind of talk about that just a little bit around what have you kind of learned, or what are your thoughts around kind of unlocking those sorts of opportunities and trying to overcome some of the obstacles that we have in this industry. Ultimately you still have to get the word out about your product and capture those opportunities, or create those opportunities, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah, we have a marketing team. They do a wonderful job making sure our posts aren't getting shadow banned, aren't getting deleted, that kind of thing. But really, word of mouth is still the best advertising. You hear it from somebody that you trust that this product helped them, they should try it out. That spreads like wildfire. And the bud tenders, people go in and hope that the bud tenders are knowledgeable about the plant, right? And like being able to educate.
Sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, I was laughing.
Oh, you're all good.
It's not always the case, I guess, is what he's trying to say, is that the bud tenders might not always know everything about the plant. It's a tricky situation that we kind of put them in. They're like part salesperson, part pharmacist or something.
Yeah, it is a very tricky situation, but that's where like the education comes into play, right? Is the more we can educate them on our research findings, or how the endocannabinoid system works, how the entourage effect works, what sets a full spectrum product apart from a distillate product, is really influential in the people coming in to buy. Because the more knowledge that the bud tender has, the more they're able to recommend products that fit somebody's needs. And oftentimes our products are fitting what the consumer needs. And that is really important for us, to be boots on the ground and make sure that everybody's knowledgeable. They get swag, they feel like they're supported by the company. And it's important to have that mentality and not just rely on social media. I mean, social media is great for everything that it does, but it certainly has those challenges. And we're trying to work through those. And hopefully in the future, we can have these algorithms and these shadow bans lifted. But for now, our strategy is educating, whether it's going out to a senior fair and educating people on our own time, or it's going out to a retail location, and making sure that we get 10 to 15 minutes to educate a bud tender on our products is really important, because they're the ones when I'm not there, they're the ones that can convey the information that I give them. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're in that situation and you're dealing with this individual, um, you can tell the level of passion for the information you're giving and their willingness to receive it. And you can probably tell the people who are there for that hourly wage just trying to get through the day. And so the guy who's super passionate, that's he's lovely to lock into, that's the joy of it. But when you run into that person who's maybe, there for the 9 to 5 aspect of it, how do you kind of approach that person to kind of spark that fire inside of them?
that is a great question. I feel like I run into it, and we have success stories, right? One of our success stories is a 6-year-old patient. She's now 7 years old, but she was 3 years old when she started using our product. She was able to overcome her cancer diagnosis using our products in conjunction with her chemotherapy treatment. So being on a human level and letting people know, like, hey, this is what it helps. This is how we're able to touch individuals on that may not be as knowledgeable, or maybe they look at it as 9 to 5. But really, more often than not, I'm finding bud tenders that are really, really into how the plant is, and they have a level of love for the product. Now, if that person that's maybe there for a 9 to 5 is kind of like whatever, if I spark interest with the person that loves the plant and I get them to rally behind us, they're going to be talking about it. And like that energy is palatable within the retail location. They're going to pick up on that. And subconsciously, they're going to pick up on those vibes. They're going to pick up on the information, and without them even knowing about it, they're going to be educated on our products, or at least the plant, to be able to help convey some of this information.
Interesting. I was just looking at our live chat from the CannaBuzz community, and I was looking at we had a question come in from Mantis, and so shout out
Oh,
to
sweet. Shout out,
yeah.
Mantis.
So shout out to the CannaBuzz community. With that shady Canadian also joined, and then Mantis, they posted their question. They said, "I love this. Are there anything? Is there anything that you guys have had to do to kind of navigate allergies and just kind of make sure that you're not, I guess, impacting people that have allergies?" Because or they were saying that they've in the past had to make their own because they've had issues with alcohol, for example.
Yeah, that does come up quite a bit. We really try to evaporate out as much alcohol as possible. It is down to a very, very residual effect. I mean, less than a pin drop, but those sensitivities are there. We can't get away from the alcohol sensitivities or allergies that people face. We try, if somebody has an allergy, maybe our product isn't great for them. Maybe a live rosin is, and that's totally fine. We aren't going to take it to heart. Our extraction process is what it is. We're we use the cold ethanol. That's how we're able to achieve our process. If somebody has an allergy and they reach out to us, hey, I had an allergic reaction, we get immediately on the phone with the dispensary. Hey, can you process them a refund? Unfortunately, our products aren't going to be right for them. We try to make sure that they're as comfortable as possible. We would hate for anybody to end up in the hospital for any type of reason. But it really is something that we take seriously. Now, when it comes to other allergies outside of ethanol, our tinctures are made with olive oil. We recognize that MCT oil can upset the stomach. People can have allergies to it. Not many allergies to olive oil. Our tablets, they're only made with microcrystalline cellulose and another basic tablet filler. There's no gluten, there's no sugar, there's no additives. We try to make a clean, pure product for everybody to consume. So if somebody is concerned with the level of alcohol and their allergy to it, don't want to say this, but maybe there's another product out there that might work best for their allergy.
We appreciate the honesty,
Yeah, totally. And how much alcohol is in a capsule or in a pill?
Very, very little. We have a low Q. I think it's like, I couldn't say the exact number on hand, but it's in the nanograms. So it's a very small.
I mean, I think that's a good workaround, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a small amount. I have had patients reach out, hey, unfortunately, I'm allergic to alcohol. I mean, we've
Oh,
first
yeah,
right
sure.
into it. So it happens. But I mean, I think people with this, with the allergy, tend to look for products that are maybe, rosin press or something that doesn't involve ethanol. But if it does arise, we are quick to jump to make it right with them.
Cool. No,
Well, I know
yeah.
personally, I put out a Mullen product, and it was basically alcohol based, and I had people in the sobriety community kind of reach out to me and kind of educate me on the opportunity to provide it in a vegetable glycerin form.
Mhm.
And so now I've become more aware of that whole idea of not only just it as you being allergic to it, but also from a sobriety issue, it also might be something that is concerning to you.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. I have been sober off alcohol for over 2.5 years. I know exactly what it's like for people in the program to struggle with addiction issues, with addictions to alcohol. It is something that people should take a little bit more concern with. But they're not going to get drunk off of our
Right.
RSO. It's like in such a low quantity. I feel like if that tips the scales for them, I don't know how else to address that. But I do know that, like, people are what's considered California sober. I'm definitely one of those people. But use caution. An RSO is traditionally extracted with alcohol. So for those of you who are in the sober community, keep doing all the good work. We're all super proud of you. Use your best judgment when you can. But it is a wonderful thing to have the plant medicine in you and working in your system.
It's interesting you mentioned California sober because I don't know the exact definitions, but I'm Oregon sober. I quit drinking in '97, but I do cannabis and fungi.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's generally the gist of California sober. I think California sober is very subjective to the individual.
That's awesome. It's tailored.
Yeah, I can't speak on one person's sobriety program. I know mine is certainly what it is. I try to consume my higher levels later at night and try to use my non-psychoactive products during the day, just because that's how I like to live my life. But what works for somebody might not work for the other. So I don't try to promote being California sober or what have you. But I think people who are recognize something is bad in their life and that they need to cut it out, and they need to work a level of a program to help them be a better person in life, it's an amazing thing, right? Like, my life has drastically changed over the last few years, and I don't even think about it anymore. But I still consume cannabis. I've been known to take a fungi or two, and in my spare time. But it's something that I constantly take time to look at. Like, hey, maybe I've been consuming a lot this week. Maybe I should pull it back a little bit. But that's just me. And everybody tailors their own program to themselves, and there certainly are people out there who are clean and sober, and that's how they live their life. And I don't judge anybody for it.
Right. Well, we're coming into the last couple questions that we wanted to hit before we let you go. I know JR had a question here about a topic that's important to him. He's done videos about this before. It was RSO and FICO. Do you want to expand on that, JR?
Yeah. So I was in the medical industry here, and it flipped a wreck. They started having reps showing up at the dispensaries, and one of them came in, and they started teaching us in the room about how RSO is bad. Rick Simpson's contributions, in my opinion, they were saying weren't relevant. And they had this new product called FICO that they were selling, and they were trying to explain to me how their FICO was a far superior product to RSO. And I got to tell you, I've been through cancer. Uh, it's helped. RSO has helped me in ways that are unimaginable. And like you said, a transformation of life kind of way.
Mhm.
And I walked away from that experience feeling very kind of like a bad taste in my mouth. And I just thought it was kind of a disrespectful thing. So when you guys are in the middle of the FICO slash RSO community, how often do you see that debate or that kind of rhetoric kind of being thrown around?
I think it comes up from time to time. We call it RSO because we give the nod to Rick Simpson and all of the activism that he did, all of his early on research. Now, are we using naphtha, anymore for our extraction?
No,
Absolutely
no,
not.
no,
Are we using isopropyl alcohol? Absolutely
no,
not.
no.
But is the base extraction similar to the method that he used? Yes. Now, FICO is a very broad term. You can call pretty much anything that is a full spectrum extract a FICO, but we really try to give the nod to Rick Simpson. It's something that we don't want to ignore, the contributions to the industry that he provided, the knowledge, the help that he helped thousands of patients in the early on days in the early 2000s. I think it's super important to keep that alive. Now, are we taking his name and we're running with it? Absolutely not. We're just giving a nod to the oil that helped patients in the first place, and we are using a very different extract. Well, I mean, it's not very different. It's ethanol. We're not using naphtha anymore. We're not using naphtha. We're not using isopropyl. We're using things that are approved by the state, and one of those is ethanol alcohol, and that is allowing us to create something similar that he created for patients. Now, it's the FICO, that the Tari like FICO that's in one syringe, different than Emerald Bay's RSO? Probably not by much, right? It's still going to be the same alcohol extracted product. But I think when people, and this is my personal opinion, when people knock those that have paved the way for us, it's a disservice to how we got here in the first place. I think Rick Simpson did some amazing, amazing things in his time in Canada, and the far beyond, it has ripple effects in the industry, and like we can't really ignore those, because when we ignore the past, we're doomed to repeat it, right? Like we don't want to take steps back, we want to take steps forward. And his thought and his ideas were this was a medically viable product for patients, and that's truly what we believe, is that everybody's a patient, everybody can use it, everybody can benefit from it, and that's where our stance is on it.
Well, it's kind of funny because when I left that seminar with my buddy. He wasn't paying attention. He kind of says to me, "So, are they selling poop oil?"
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I don't blame him. When we first started talking to me about this subject too, I was like, "What? Fika? What?" Um, well, so we're coming into the last, minute or so of the show. So I wanted to mention that people should Google or otherwise search on the internet Emerald Bay extracts. They'll find your website. I was just clicking through it while you were talking there. You can look at all the different products there. You've got tablets and syringes, tinctures. The where to find us page is super useful. It's not sometimes in California brands, at least, these pages aren't very useful. Sometimes they barely even work. So I appreciated that I looked at it up. I loaded it up and I clicked on, where Vallejo is, and there's three spots here in Vallejo, like one practically down the road that I could go visit. So I'm excited to check it out and see it out there in the stores. One of the things that we wanted to kind of mention real quick before you go is you have a bunch of, as we've been saying, strain specific products here. You've got super lemon haze, ice cream cake, gelato, so many different, there's actually tons. There's tons and tons of options here. Could you kind of shout out some of people's favorites for things like, I guess, sleeping, or and maybe like kind of a daytime one? So there's like the nighttime and the daytime. I'd love to hear kind of what you feel like is people are responding well to.
Yeah, absolutely. For sleep, our new one-to-one-to-one sleep product, sleep, it is amazing. It's got 8.3 milligrams of CBD, 8.3 milligrams of CBN, and 8.3 milligrams of THC. Ice cream cake is another one that's great on sleep. Anything with beta carophylline, we're seeing that really seems to be the go-to for that couch lock sedative effect. I think if we're talking pain management, good daily pain management for daytime use is, I know I keep saying it, Blue Dream. It is a great strain for people. It's tried and true. Our white CBG for a non-psychoactive effect is amazing. I mean, you will feel it connect with your body and feel that buzz. Also, our lifter CBD is another great one for pain management. Anxiety, again, white CBG is a great one for anxiety. Appetite, ice cream cake is the one to go to. Really, any of our strains are going to be strains that we understand and that we have a good baseline for how it's going to affect people, and that it is a fan favorite. So pretty much anything you see on the shelves, go ahead, give it a try. It's affordable. You get everything you need with it in the full spectrum sense.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was just like the first strain that I grew that I like when we were at rec in California, I went to Berkeley Patients Group and I
Mm.
bought a Granddaddy Purple clone. So I was just excited that I just saw Granddaddy Purple is one of the strains that you guys list. So that's really cool. And you even this is another thing that I feel like gives you cred, especially with folks like us. As you mention on these pages, you actually list who it's grown by. So it says like for Granddaddy Purple, Sierra Select Farms in Nevada County. That's really cool that you give a shout out to the folks that you work with. Not a lot of people do that.
Yeah. I mean, they're the ones that grow it. We manufacture it and distribute it, right? I mean, they deserve as much of a shout out as we do. They're the ones that are preserving these strains, including GDP, which is really hard to source, by the way. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to GDP getting back into the market here. It is a phenomenal strain. I think both styles, whether it's Kennesis or the other GDP,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have said that name on there, but I think it does well for patients that are looking for quality sleep, for appetite. Yeah.
Hey, I'll shout out to G. I was waiting my turn to talk. Granddaddy Purple was one of the first pain strains that I gravitated to. It helped me a lot because it was not just heavy, but it was also uplifting. So I would get pain relief and I would get relief from sadness from
Yeah.
being in pain, and so it was such a well-rounded cultivar. And I hit up Attitude Seed Bank and I ordered it, but it was right when everything was just kind of crumbling over there. And so they didn't have it available and they substituted Purple Valley OG. Uh, yeah, it wasn't Granddaddy Purple, but I can vouch for that strain pain wise. It's incredible, incredible strain for pain. I really like that one.
Yeah, the one that I grew was Ken's GDP because Ken's a
Yeah.
local legend. Because at the time I was actually living in Richmond, and he where he was where Ken was in Richmond, California back in the day. I would hear stories about like the different dispensaries that he worked out of and whatnot. So yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate you guys bringing in strains like that and hopefully helping keep them
Yeah.
alive. Because a lot of us, those things go out of style. Things like forbidden fruit, for example, is one that tests below 20%, but it's still a fan favorite, but it kind of drops out of the market because it's not a high tester. So, anyways, I appreciate that you guys are keeping some of these strains alive and then bringing them to the people in a really interesting way. Everyone should make sure that they search on the internet Emerald Bay extracts, find your products out there. Kyle, thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time, sharing all your knowledge with us, and I hope people check you guys out. JR, any last words before we go?
I just want to thank you for your time. I think it's wonderful in this industry that we get to connect with like-minded people, share our ideas, and lift each other up. I think that's the only way we're going to survive this future is by lifting each other up. And when I talked to you, I knew immediately that your heart is where where we need our hearts to be. So I appreciate you so much for coming on the show and giving us your time, Kyle.
Thank you so much. Thanks, JR. That really means a lot. It is it is a passion for not just me, but for everybody at Emerald Bay. So thank you so much for having me on, and I really appreciate you giving me the time.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much to everyone in the CannaBuzz community, including Mantis and folks like that. You can join us in the
Yeah,
live
shout
streams.
out.
Really awesome. We get a little bit of, co-producer help with some
Yeah,
questions
that's
from the
great.
audience is awesome. Shout outs to everyone else who supports the show. We really appreciate you. Make sure to follow us on Spotify. It's pretty much the best way to get the show these days, or in your favorite podcast app. And then if you want to follow us on YouTube, that's great too. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for your time, Kyle. Thanks, JR, for putting together today's show. And as always, JR,
Growers love.
peace, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.